We've got lots of injury updates to go through, so there's really no time to waste any time. All I ask is that you go down there, drop a like on this video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support, because I'm one of the only fantasy YouTubers working on a Saturday. Going to our first matchup here, the Green Bay Packers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Jacobs is must start. I would say that he's a lower end must start, but most of the time, I don't see people benching Josh Jacobs for X player, right? It's not like you have the luxury of having Jordan Mason, Kareem Hunt, and Jahmyr Gibbs all on your same team. If you do have that luxury, that's fantastic. You play those three guys and then leave Josh Jacobs on your bench. But most times, Josh Jacobs is not going to be a guy that's ever going to be considered a bench because he's actually been playing pretty good in fantasy lately, and the matchup's really good. And then Tank Bigsby. I prefer him either way. Honestly, if Travis Etienne goes, I prefer Tank Bigsby because he's just the better player at this point. But obviously, if Tank is without Travis Etienne, he's above Josh Jacobs actually in must-start territory. Travis Etienne muddies the whole thing up, basically. That's all he's really doing at this point by becoming a game-time decision in fantasy football this week. So we'll have to see. If Etienne plays, he can be played, but I would much rather just play Tank Bigsby if I have the both of them, and I'm just going to sit Emmanuel Wilson this week. The Arizona Cardinals at the Miami Dolphins this week, and I think that both starters are must start. James Conner definitely, Devon Achane definitely. Listen, James Conner is just the guy in Arizona. They're going to run the ball this week. I just can't see a game. I can't see a way where this game gets out of hand for the Arizona Cardinals here, especially if they don't have Tyreek Hill with Miami. I don't see the Miami Dolphins pulling away from the Cardinals in this one. And then we've got Devon Achane here, who is a total boomer bust player at this point. I think he's definitely going to hit now that Tua's back, but he's definitely an uncertain play. And then Raheem Mostert here, I think he's playable. I don't think he's a high-end flex guy, but I will say that Raheem Mostert, again, this whole team is so much better with Tua Tagovailoa under center. It's not even funny. You wouldn't even believe it. It's just ridiculous how much better. Raheem Mostert, I think, becomes a flexible play. But I would definitely say, if you can afford not to play Raheem Mostert, I would definitely look other directions here. New York Jets at the New England Patriots. Breece Hall, fire the dude up. That guy is handling everything out of the backfield ever since the play calling duties were stripped from Nathaniel Hackett. And then Ramondre Stevenson, I think he's a decent flex option. I'd play him over Raheem Mostert myself, but I don't think Ramondre Stevenson, the problem with him is that he's on an offense that is just not very good, and this team as a whole, I think, is about to implode, if they haven't already. I mean, their coaches called them soft earlier in the week. What an idiot move by Gerard Mayo to do that. So I just think that Ramondre, on a sinking ship team, they're already sunk. I mean, they're already sunk. It's not a sinking ship. They're dead. But the Jets defense is definitely beatable on the ground. So I think Ramondre definitely has merit to play. And again, Braylon Allen's irrelevant at this point. I think he's still rosterable if you have Breece Hall because he's a good handcuff, but you can't play him on a weekly basis as long as Breece is there. And then Gibson at this point, it wouldn't bother me if you went ahead and just cut him. Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. The most obvious one we don't have to talk about. Derrick Henry, you fire this guy up. Nick Chubb, I think, is definitely getting better. But this matchup is not for him, right? This is not a Nick Chubb-friendly matchup. The guy didn't look as efficient as he used to be last week in his first game back, which is totally understandable. But I definitely just don't think this is a week where you could expect much better. I mean, they're playing the Baltimore Ravens this week. That's not a good matchup here. I want to see them play the Panthers or the Saints or somebody like that. Now, Nick Chubb, I think, has better weeks, but this is just a week where I would say, again, in that Raheem Mostert category, I'd actually start Mostert over Nick Chubb. I would try to find a different option this week. And then Justice Hill, I'll say this, good handcuff, sometimes has play merit, but really is just kind of a score-reliant guy. So I would say bench Justice Hill unless you're in a really deeper league. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Cincinnati Bengals here. Saquon Barkley, same exact thing as Saquon Barkley. Goes right in your lineup. You don't think about it. Chase Brown, definitely the best option in Cincinnati. But again, second week straight, this is not the best matchup for Chase Brown. I don't love this matchup for Chase Brown. I think that he's the best of the bunch. He definitely has the most scoring upside and the most big play upside between him and Moss. And then with Moss, I don't even think you could play him at this point. I mean, really, the last 3 weeks have been unstartable for Zach Moss, if you've been paying attention. It's not been good. So I would say don't torture yourself with this one and just go ahead and put him back on your bench. The Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Joe Mixon, fire him up. Jonathan Taylor, welcome back. We are very happy to have Jonathan Taylor back. He goes right back in your lineup. I don't really care how tough the matchup is, and it is a tough one. I don't care. Jonathan Taylor is this offense right here. This offense revolves around him. So if he doesn't go, they don't go very far. So Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon are easy must starts, and then you can kick Trey Sermon to the curb for all I care about, and Dameon Pierce is irrelevant also. Tennessee Titans at the Detroit Lions here. Jahmyr Gibbs is a clear must start. That guy, I think, obviously he's always had the big play upside, more so than Dave Montgomery. But Dave Montgomery, although I know he's not on the injury report officially, I can't imagine a world where this guy is 100% healthy. So yes, he's a must start against a weaker Tennessee defense and in a game script where they're going to dominate. But I will say Gibbs is definitely my preferred option because I just don't see how it's possible that Dave Montgomery is fully healthy. And then with Tony Pollard here, definitely a high-end flex option because of the usage. But this offense is so horrible, and this matchup is not good. Detroit's strength is their run defense. So I don't see a ton of upside, but I definitely see the usage as being where his upside is. And Tyjae Spears, even when he's healthy, I'm not playing this guy. The Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Obviously, Bijan's a must start. Let's not get crazy and carried away. I'm not that nuts when it comes to Bijan. I'm obviously getting known as a Bijan hater these days. I don't hate Bijan. I've always loved the player. I just, for some reason, can't hop on board with him always getting that workload that he's gotten the last 2 games. I mean, I can't count on it. But obviously, in this matchup versus the Bucs, where I think they're going to win pretty handily, yes, you start Bijan Robinson 100% of the time. Rachaad White, Bucky Irving. Rachaad White's my favorite because he has the receiving upside. And I think that's going to be particularly important until Mike Evans comes back. So I think Rachaad White definitely has the most upside out of this backfield. I would play him over Raheem Mostert. I would play him over Nick Chubb. Those are the guys that I would play him over in particular. I think Rachaad White's a decent flex option. He's kind of in that Tony Pollard range for me. Bucky Irving expected to play through the injury, so you can play him because he's definitely the better one on the ground. But he's not getting the receiving upside. He's a good receiving back, but he's not seeing it at the level that Rachaad White is. So they both have merits. I prefer Rachaad White because I think his upside is just greater with more target opportunities. Algier, I'll bench him this week. Keep an eye on him, but I'm going to bench him. And Sean Tucker, I'm going to bench him as well. The New Orleans Saints at the Los Angeles Chargers this week. J.K. Dobbins, you fire this dude up. I called him a must-start earlier this week in my must-start video. I think he's going to unleash. This is a horrible defense against the run. They cannot stop anything. J.K. Dobbins is already on a run-first team. This matchup is just cake. And then Alvin Kamara, low-end must-start. I mean, this guy, honestly, guys, like I went through it on the running back rankings, and I didn't even see a ton of pushback from it because I think people get it. This matchup is not good, number one, and they are riding this guy like a freaking horse. He's just not healthy. He's got, like, multiple injuries. Ribs, hand, I think his lower body's hurt. Like, he's dealing with a ton of things, and I don't think that he's going to be fully healthy because he's just going to continue to get ridden like a horse. So, yes, start him because he has the receiving upside, but this offense looks horrible without Derek Carr, so don't expect much from him is all I'm saying. If you want to play Kamara, pair him with a higher upside running back. And then Kamani Vidal, keep your eye on him, but definitely don't play him this week. Buffalo Bills at the Seattle Seahawks. Kenneth Walker, fire the dude up. He's got no injury designation. He should never go on your bench. And James Cook, I feel similarly. Don't put him on your bench. Like, this guy can go nuclear. And I think it could be this week. I don't know. I've said it all week. This is my most interesting matchup of the week to watch because I think this could go in a lot of different directions here. I think the Buffalo Bills could blow them out. I think the Seahawks could blow them out. I also think it could be a very competitive game, which is why I just want options here. So I'm not benching either of these guys. And obviously, you do not play their handcuff running backs. The Chicago Bears at the Washington Commanders. Swift is must start. I will say, like, off a bye, on the run he's on against the Commanders, I want in on DeAndre Swift. But I will just caution people this. I can't forget what happened the first 3 weeks in the season. He was borderline droppable, and all of a sudden he became their biggest playmaker at the running back position by a mile. So this guy has the upside, but it still is worrisome. He's a mid to lower tier must-start guy, but obviously in most situations, I'm going to advise to do it because the matchup is just really strong. And then Brian Robinson Jr., I called him a sit this week in my sit video. Obviously, if you can't afford to sit him, then you got to play him, right? He's got upside still, but what I'll tell you is this. This guy is not fully healthy, and he's played less than 50% of the snaps 2 straight games. He's not fully healthy. This is a bad matchup versus the Chicago Bears. So I almost think Austin Eckler may have as much upside in fantasy as Brian Robinson Jr. does this week. That's my opinion on those guys this week. Mick Nichols, I would keep an eye on him because he's taken away touches from both of them, but I'm not going to play him. And then Roschon Johnson, touchdown upside guy, don't love it this week. And then Khalil Herbert, I'm not. You shouldn't even roster him at this point. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders here. Kareem Hunt, people need to just realize this is a must-start guy. I get questions about him every week, and it's like I don't disrespect the question. It's just people need to understand. We need to recalibrate this one. This is a must-start guy. He is so necessary in this Kansas City Chiefs offense. He's gotten 2 straight 20-carry games. This guy doesn't leave your lineup, especially against the Raiders, who are weak against the run. And then Madison just continues to amaze me. Like, even last week, he didn't get in the end zone, and he actually did well. So this is not a good matchup, obviously, against the Chiefs. They are really stout against the run, but he's definitely better than Zamir White. So I would say if you're desperate this week, I think Madison's a low-end play. And then Zamir White, honestly, shouldn't even be rostered anymore. Carolina Panthers at the Denver Broncos. No must-starts. I can't, in my right mind, make Javonte Williams a must-start. I cannot do it. I get it. Last week was the breakout week. He still only handled 16 carries and wasn't on the field more than 65% of the snaps. This guy is not handling everything. So yes, the matchup is fantastic. It's hard to get better than this. But at the same time, call me ridiculous, call me crazy. I can't in my right mind put Javonte as a must start. I can't do it. High-end flex, definitely bordering on must start, but I can't in my right mind call him a must start. Chuba Hubbard, I call him a bench this week. I love Chuba Hubbard. I think he's going to have better weeks than this. This isn't a great week here. They're playing the Denver Broncos, and it's not a good matchup altogether. They've also got Bryce Young here, so if you can afford to put him on your bench, I would definitely put him on your bench this week. And then the 2 Denver running backs, keep your eye on Audric Esne in particular, but definitely don't play him this week. The Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. Our Sunday night game, we need to realize this too. I feel similarly to Jordan Mason right now because I've gotten a ton of Mason questions this week. You play Jordan Mason. Number one, obviously, his last 3 weeks in fantasy, not particularly great. Hasn't crossed 10 fantasy points in a half PPR format in the last 3 games. I understand it. But understand this. They are so ravaged at the wide receiver position, at every position, basically. If he's breathing, they're going to give him 20 opportunities in this game. And it's a good matchup here. So you cannot bench Jordan Mason this week. This is a good bounce-back game as long as he can stay healthy. I like Jordan Mason a lot in this game. Rico Dowdle is definitely the best option in Dallas, but this matchup I don't love. And Rico Dowdle, I've said it for weeks, this team goes away from the run so fast. So the minute they get down, and I believe they will lose this game, I don't think Rico Dowdle has a ton of receiving upside yet. So I would just say that he's a decent flex option, but nothing more than that. And then keep your eye on Isaac Orendo and his workload in this game. Maybe since without the lack of receiver options, maybe he actually has a little bit more playing time than usual. One thing you don't have to guess on, though, is Dak Prescott hitting the higher on 0.5 total yards, which is what his projection is right now on Underdog for new customers. So if you do want to get in on this, go down in the comments, grab the link that's there, use code FFN to play the higher on the sweat-free projection for Dak Prescott, and they'll match your first deposit 50% up to $1,000 of bonus cash, and you're going to be walking away with free money when you hit the higher on Dak Prescott's projection this week. And then the New York Giants at the Pittsburgh Steelers, our Monday night matchup, collection of misfits at running back. Not misfits, I shouldn't say that. Najee's had 2 straight good games. He's the best option of the bunch. I can't commit to him, though. Similar to Javonte, he's not handling all the work, and this matchup is tougher. This matchup is tougher versus the Giants. The Jets' defense is not better than the Giants. I'm willing to say that at this point. They're not. They've been bad ever since they fired Robert Saleh. This Giants defense, they're ravaged with injuries, which makes Najee Harris definitely a decent play, but the Steelers can definitely go into a shell at any time offensively and not provide upside to their fantasy guys. It's happened for years, so I just can't commit to him as a must start. Tyrone Tracy Jr., I think he's the best option in New York. Obviously, you can't glean anything from last week since Devin Singletary and him kind of shared the work. That was a blowout game. I think Tracy's the guy that you want out of this backfield right here. And then Jaylen Warren, I would say, is better than Devin Singletary because the offensive upside with Pittsburgh is probably higher than it is with the New York Giants this week. So let me know how your team looks this week. And if you want to see where all these running backs ended up in my top 30 rankings this week, click on this video right here.